Hello everyone, my name is Relax and Panic, and this is another reaction to that time I got reincarnated as a slime. It is episode 14, and you know what to do. If you want to see the reaction itself, just go down into my descriptions, follow the links, replace the parentheses dot parts with real dots, and enjoy. Once you've done, feel free to come back here and hear my thoughts about this episode. So, see you soon. For those that came back, welcome back. Now, an episode about eating your enemy, about devouring your enemy, and very fittingly, both sides, both enemies, Rimuru and the Orc Lord, kind of had the same ability, in the general way, you know? They both were able to eat their opponents and inherit the strength, the powers, the abilities from their opponents. So we have seen that for Rimuru in the first episodes, that he was doing that, eating the spider, the caterpillar, and whatever he encountered. And as the Demon Lord says here clearly, that is something he did as well. So it's a unique encounter because they both have this ability. However, Rimuru has the upper hand. He's stronger in general. And his ability as slime to engulf his enemy completely, while the Orc Lord would have to swallow him, which is nearly impossible with a slime, because he can just, float away from everything. You can't grab him, really. Possibly gives him the upper hand, but in the end it is more like a fight of those two abilities against each other, which ability is stronger. So it was starved against Predator. And in the end state, Devourer. In the end state, the Predator ability being stronger. Fittingly. I like the fact that Rimuru is, how to say it, just a good one. Just a good guy there. Having this conversation with the Orc Lord, with Geld. Understanding where Geld came from, why he did what he did, at least the start, this seeing him as a king and his people in the desert starving, not having enough to eat, so a typical problem there. The question is why do they not have enough to eat? Is it just that there is like a long heat, and thus nothing grows, or is it that they, just grew too much, so that there is this area and it can feed only, I don't know, like, let's say 50,000 orcs, and they just grew too big in numbers, and thus they are starving because there are too many orcs, and the land cannot feed you anymore. That is, that would be a problem that would be very fitting for orcs being overpopulating too much. They didn't show the reasons, so I can only speculate there. But as a king, in the end, he just wants to help his people, so he first sacrificed parts of his body which regrow as food for the children, which is already a move which is weird, Normally you can't do that. The pain is just too much. You cannot rip off your limbs like he did. But he can, and it is still a huge sacrifice, although he seems to be pretty good at blocking out the pain there. But a sacrifice, and then he went out alone towards the forest to find food for his people, being aware that the storm dragon is gone. So this absence of the storm dragon is something a lot of at least more powerful beings realize. So there will be possibly more wandering towards the forest, or maybe it was just what we've met. I mean, the wolves came there as well. If you remember, they wanted to conquer the forest. So there might be a little bit more coming in, but I guess the strongest one we kind of met, hopefully. As I said, I understand the reasons why Geld did it, and I kind of agree here with Rimuru that he gave him like a nice farewell, a good last thing to see. So this, you have reached the forest, or I'm not sure if it was the forest, it might have been a picture of the desert as it would be when it would be growing. Maybe that's it. But he gave him a nice farewell. So like a positive vibe for leaving, and swallowed and devoured not only his body and his powers, which, by the way, are immensely, so this will be interesting, but he swallowed his misbehaviors, his sins as well, as he said. So he kind of took himself that's a critical thing, but the power of God to be the one telling you that your sins are washed away. So at least he said, kind of, I forgive you for what you did, you know? But as I said, he as far as we know Rimuru and his abilities of Predator, he is devouring the abilities, and he consumes them. Now the interesting question here is, does he get the powers only from Geld, which is already a cool thing, or all those that Geld acquired himself during the time? Because there's a major difference. I mean, the one thing is healing powers he has, which are incredibly good. The ability to regrow limbs and stuff alike, which we have already seen Rimuru do. You know, being a slime, he just regrows. But Geld swallowed, as example, Gelmud and his... I wrote it down, whatever this ability was that he used there. Just checking if I can find it. Nope. Death March Dance. That's it. The Death March Stance, which is a far range attack, so why not? But apart from that, there were a lot of Magicules and everything. So I question if he's growing stronger as well by devouring his enemies. They did not really show that yet. If so, then he just made a major step upwards, because Geld was a major monster. I mean, he was a demon lord now, by definition of the Great Sage. He ate Gelmud before, so there's a lot of power in there. Clearly, we know that Leon watched this. They didn't show it this episode, but they showed it last time, so he's aware that something's happening there. So I guess somewhere in the next episodes we will have more movement from his side. And what I ask myself here is, so there was this moment when Geld decided to kill and eat Gelmud. And I ask myself if that was something Leon wanted. I mean, what if he's really a mean one, sends Gelmud out with this what to do, possibly even instructs him to get an orc and, you know, stuff like that, and to make him into a demon lord, being aware that possibly eating Gelmud will be the last thing he needs to do to become a demon lord. So he was a pawn himself, while making everyone else to pawns. That would be very clever, just saying. Before all that happened, we have had a little bit of a fighting. So Gelmud appearing there using this ability, which was easily blocked by Rimuru, which shows that there is a major difference in power. Gelmud being just, you know, mean and not clever, which was surprising. I kind of expected him to be a more clever enemy, but he really wasn't. He was more, he had some powers, and he did his job, but he was thinking of himself too highly. So he really thought that he is like the ultimate one. And Rimuru even said it to him that he is nothing special. You're not superior. So all of this ties in more into my theory that this might have been scripted by Leon. Not the ending, you know, not the fact that Rimuru stops everything, but the creation of Geld into a demon lord by eating Gelmud is something I really think Leon did. So we had a bit of fighting before. We had our ogres, our Kijin, doing some really good work. I mean, they clearly work very well as a team. You could see distracting the enemy, and then the other one is able to come in from behind, or webbing him in so that the mage can hit it directly, which is a clever thing if you have as a mage an incredible powerful attack which needs to hit the enemy. It is a cool thing if you have someone webbing him in, so the enemy can't evade, can't dodge the attack, and you get an easy kill there. That is a good combination of skills from them. I like that. And I like the fact that they showed that, at least for our Tempest Wolf, the Magicutes ran out. So the fact that you cannot do it endlessly is shown again. That's a good thing. I like it. We had our lizards doing some things as well. I was a bit surprised there. So the one thing is the 3 comrades sacrificed themselves. At least one of them did. The others tried to protect Gabiru. They sacrificed themselves for him, jumped in front when the attack was coming in. So surprisingly heroic. So they are not this, how to say, they are not the stupid ones or the ones manipulating. They really believe in him. They really are kind of fanatics for him, which is like, you know, a cheering band for the hero. They are a bit weird there. But Gabiru was clearly smitten by the fact what happened then. He was majorly hurt by their death, and I think he would have tried to attack Gelmud. But he was not clever at all. I mean, before that, he was the only one not understanding what was going on. Although Gelmud clearly stated what was going on, and he needed this direct hit into the face more than once to understand that Gelmud is not his friend. So I guess he would have attacked him then, kind of vengeance-like. But Rimuru kind of solved it. I mean, Gabiru would have been killed, in my opinion, clearly. He was about to be. Rimuru saved him and additionally gave him the option to heal his friends before they are completely dead. So I think he made an ally there, very clearly, in my opinion. He stated that he likes Gabiru, which is a bit weird, but okay. I mean, in his stupidity, he is someone that still has some positive sides on him. So this friendship with those other 3, what he did was always out of the idea that he is just the better one, distancing from his father, you know, that he just has the better options, the better skills, and he wanted to save his people in general. So it was not out of a majorly negative reasons what he did. But he is easily swayed, easily manipulated, and that is something that is dangerous. Now, possibly being a friend or a subordinate in the long time, maybe for Rimuru, he's someone you have to have an eye on. He needs like a counselor and a teacher, and then maybe, just maybe in the future, he will grow into more than he just is. But as I say, right now, he's a possible ally, or at least he will feel in depth towards Rimuru, which is cool. And he hopefully finally understood who's a real leader, and it's not Gupta. Yeah. So there are a lot of new abilities. So I'm pretty sure we haven't seen the Arcane Threat before. The prison made out of spiderwebs, you know, and it's the first time I've seen this auto battle mode, which kind of answers my question from the last discussion, where I was like, there are so many abilities Rimuru has, and the longer he's in this world and the more he learns new stuff, the more abilities he will have. So keeping them all in his mind and using them efficiently is not an easy thing. So having an auto battle mode, kind of steered by Great Sage, is possibly a good option. Question is if it is the best option. Possibly Great Sage with auto battle will be able to use efficient combinations, sure, and just go like general patterns, you know, defense fields, speed, haste effects, debuffs on the enemy, damage over time, direct damage, you know, something like that. So a general attack pattern, which is working on most of your enemies. But if you have an enemy which is very clever, I guess auto battle might be at a disadvantage, because a clever enemy will be aware that you are in this mode and thus will be able to guess what is coming next and then counter it. Here it was countered by the fact that Gel just had fire resistance, and that made the Great Sage struggle for a bit, as you could see. If you had, like, let's say Leon on the other side, and you start auto battle mode, let's say he does not realize you're going into auto battle mode in the beginning. I guess he would. He would take like the first attack, see what's coming, take the second, and at least at the third attack he would be like, oh well, that's a pattern which is very, very easy to predict what you're doing, so just counter it and smash you. So I guess auto battle, as I said, for normal enemies possibly a good option. For bigger or more clever enemies it might be at a disadvantage. Yeah, we've seen the flare circle again. I like that, so that they brought it in, that we see all the abilities again and again that were in the last episodes. I'm not sure what is a little bit questionable to me, and maybe you can answer it. I have never seen Rimuru use Arcane Threat, or the attacks that Benimaru is using now. So, as some of you pointed out in the discussions, the abilities that the subordinates of Rimuru acquire while evolving are randomly given to them, as it seems, by the Great Sage, which, by the way, in my opinion, is a little bit of spoiler. But if the series never tells you that, it's okay to know. Is it that way that if they acquire these abilities, that Rimuru kind of loses them? Because that would be weird. It would weaken him more than normally. But I have not seen him use the abilities the others have since they evolved. I mean, I'm aware that he had the sticky threats and everything, and the steel threats, which Suai is using. He used them against the wolves, against the Tempest Wolves, when they attacked. But he never used them afterwards. So is he still having them? Or not? If you know, point it out. So, I think that's it for this time. It was a good episode. It was the end of a story arc for sure. I kind of hope that in the next episode they will at least tell a little bit about what happened with the orcs. I'm pretty sure that we have like a discussion with the lizards that we just saved. If there's like a permanent alliance or trading or, you know, something of diplomatic value. I'm waiting for trainee? You know what I mean. Trainee, I think it is, to appear again. Because they did for her what she wanted. So, is there like a reward? So those two things, I guess, will be and should be in the next episode. But the question for me interesting is what's happening with the orcs now. Will they go back into the desert? Which, I mean, they did not come out without a reason. There's no food. Or will there be a different solution, like them being able to live somewhere there in the forest or near to the forest with the allowance, with the, I don't know, the dryads, like, okay, we will help you. Will maybe just as an option, the dryads try to help the orcs in the desert. You know, they are defenders of nature. Maybe they have an option to inspire growth in the desert so that the orcs have food finally. Or where are we going with them? Or are they just, like, you know, beaten and just shoved to the side because they are not in the spotlight anymore? Which would be a bit sad, but is happening in series. So, questions. We will see next time. Until then, feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. My name is Relax and Panic. Goodbye and out.